The last company I worked at spent millions of dollars a year doing automated UI testing. We had an entire team. That's all they did. They focused on that. What browser use is trying to do is allow basically automating all of that through natural language. If any of you have actually written automated UI tests, you know how brittle they are. You know that one change to the UI changes everything. It will break. Things like Selenium, in my mind, were just like, I dreaded working with Selenium. Playwright to me is actually really good, and that's what browser use is using under the hood here. But what I saw today is something I've actually known about browser use for a while, but I actually hadn't had time to actually test it until I actually saw this video that Network Chuck put out. And I was really fascinated with the way he kind of approached it. He didn't use it for the same thing that I want to use it for, which is automated testing, like UI testing, end-to-end testing, really. But it really got me thinking, like, it's better than what I thought it was going to be. Now, I'm going to jump into this is the browser use web UI. There are two repos that you should care about. And honestly, if you just want their web UI, there's one repo you need to care about, which is the browser use web UI. Network Chuck does an amazing job covering like setting this up. I'm not going to go into those details. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run some tests using my production application and actually testing browser use. Now, there's a lot of settings that you can do here. And what I would say is you kind of need to find the right model for what you are doing. I'm going to be using Gemini 2.0 Flash because it is so inexpensive and it does a really good job. I would imagine Claude is probably going to be better, but my objective here is this something that I can use to replace Cypress on my end and actually set this up such that it's running in a headless mode, which you can see that it actually has that option here, so that I can run automated tests and get basically feedback on things using natural language. So if we tweak something in the UI, it doesn't automatically break. I have a feeling it could be a bit more resilient. So I put together a few tests here. The first test is one that is kind of fun. So what I want to do is I actually want to log into my application. I'm then going to have it navigate to my customers page, search for a customer. This is my dev account. All of this data is totally fake and fabricated, but it could actually be ran, against a real store. I'm going to have it click manage and modify points. I'm then going to tell it to remove points from that user. And the reason for removing it is I want it to say AI doesn't like you. So let's go ahead and kick this off, and then we'll kind of talk through the results here. So I have it set up now so it opens up its own browser. You can actually configure it to use your existing browser. But in my case, if I deploy something like this, I actually don't want it to use my local one and depend on it. I actually want to run through it and make it have to like log in and do all the steps. So you see here, it navigated the left sidebar properly. Clicking on my customers page, you can see all of the users look very clickable here. Now it should search for my peanut user, and it did. It found it, and it should click on that result in the UI. Perfect. Now if it's doing it right, it'll click on the Manage tab next, and now it should click Modify Points if that ends up working well. And hopefully it clicks Remove Points here, and sets it to 10 points, and then sets the reason here. And this looks like it's going to work like absolutely flawlessly. This is fantastic. Like honestly, you saw what I put into that prompt there and it just worked flawlessly. And now it's done. So it looks like it's going to try to do it again. Never mind, it did not work flawlessly. We decided to deduct another 10 points for some reason. So yeah, it's not perfect. You can kind of see that here, and maybe I'll go ahead and just stop that. Otherwise, we're going to I guess keep subtracting points here infinitely. So let me show you another kind of configuration that you can do here. You can actually say the max number of run steps you want and the max number of actions per step. And these are useful because what I found is there were some times that it would get off the rails and fail, and it would come back around and fix it the next time around. I love that. That was absolutely amazing there. So let's run another test. This test, what I wanted to do is actually go to my branding area and attempt to brand parts of my application. I'm going to go ahead and hit run agent here. I'll open this up. Again, it's going to have to log in every time. So actually, that's why I have to include the login and password in there. And I'm going to blur that out. But if for some reason it gets leaked, I'm going to remove this account after this video just so nothing happens. Not that it's even usable like in production or anything. This is totally a dev account that has no access to my prod. So I'm not too worried about it, but I still will remove it. So here, what it should do, it found the branding section perfectly. It said AI was here just like I told it to. That's what I told it to change the text to. Now I told this to change it to red, and this should be black. So that should go to all zeros, ideally, if it types it incorrectly. And it did. That is absolutely perfect. And I attempted one other thing here, but unfortunately that ends up failing because I don't think I have these things like clickable perfect. So I wanted it to expand the home section, but notice when it highlights the squares that it actually didn't find that. So that is on me. I know that you need to actually change the UI to make sure that Playwright can pick it up, which is what they're using behind the scenes. Okay, so the next step I want to do is I'm actually going to use this to run my AI in my app. So what it's going to do is it's going to log in again. We've seen this a few times already. This is working like really, really well. And the speed of it is relatively good with Google. I will say my local models, I just don't have enough VRAM for them. I really need more. So here, what it should do is it should be navigating to our strategist. Yes, it's got our AI marketing strategist. It should click plan your campaign. It should put in some funny things in here. Ideally, you'd put something like normal, but you could put whatever you want. So let's make some money. And this should be like, let's give some big discounts. And it should click generate plan here if I've got this done correctly. Oh, wait, I didn't actually tell it to click generate plan. So that's my bad on that one. So it worked perfectly with the directions that I gave it. Now, another one that I had attempted to do, and it's just to show you that sites are getting a little smart about tracking these things. Earlier today, I got blocked from a website because I was playing around with this, and it apparently detected I had a bot. It even told me I had a bot running on my IP address, so that wasn't cool. So anyway, I'm gonna show you here. This is one that is gonna immediately like block me and kind of fail, but this is Trackalacka and Trackalacker. And what I wanted to do here was have it kind of search for an RTX 5090 to see if any are in stock. And my goal was to just kind of run this behind the scenes a little bit and see if I could actually get it to like add some to the cart for me. But see, notice I get to something unexpected happen. I think Trackalacker is picking up that this is a bot. Because if I do these exact same steps on my regular browser, it works fine. So unfortunately, I think they're getting pretty smart about blocking some of these apps. So just to close out with a little bit more, there's a few other really interesting things here. Now, deep research is really cool. So this would be like, go search the web for something and it will put together a report for you. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this off and let it run. But while that's happening, I'm going to show you some recordings. So everything that happens, you can have it actually capture recordings for you and see everything that occurred, all the things that it clicked, and it's all within this recordings tab. The preview of them is kind of bad because it's all just, you know, a random file name that doesn't make any sense. It's an MP4 file, but it's actually really, really powerful to at least have these MP4 files so that you can actually see kind of what's been generated. And apparently I've generated 62 of them, which is a lot more than I had thought. Okay, so here we see the deep research going. It's actually, I should not have scrolled there. That's my bad. I keep getting into that habit. I'm not supposed to actually mess with it because it looks for stuff at the certain position on the screen. And then I've just messed up its location. So while that's happening, um, it's going to be pulling together a bunch of different articles and it's going to put together a complete research paper for me. The other thing you can look at is the results piece. And what this will do is it'll actually show you kind of what ended up happening through the model actions and the thoughts that it took. And I thought this was actually really cool too. And you can download the trace file and your agent history, which I actually did play around with as well. So now what we're doing is deep research is actually going through and trying to find another article to look at. Again, this is like really, really cool. Again, it's not going to be as good as probably some of the ones like Operator. I'm sure Operator is nicer, but this is amazing. And if you had a strong enough system, you could run all of this locally. Like I ran the 14 billion parameter model and it was fine for my testing use cases. That's incredible. And I could actually see myself deploying this in a headless fashion and running a series of tests using Gemini 2.0 Flash and having that replace all of my UI testing, and it probably be a lot less brittle. Okay, so deep research just finished. It took about 210 seconds, which isn't that bad. And this is what it generated here. So it ended up pulling, so the prompt is compose a report on the use of reinforcement learning for training large language models, encompassing its origin, current advancements, and future prospects. Substantiated with examples of relevant models and techniques. The report should reflect original insights and analysis, moving beyond mere summarization of existing literature. So reinforcement learning for large language models, a deep dive. So they do the origins, current advancements. So they've got the traditional RL approaches, RLHF and RLAIF. They explain what those are, and they explain the models that are using them. Now, I actually do not know if those are true or not. I have to do some research on that. So I wouldn't take this just at, face value. You'd have to kind of follow up and question everything that it's giving you. So I don't want to say this is totally accurate, but like the amount of content that I put out here is pretty cool. It does actually give a little bit of references, but not as many as I had expected. Like I've done some in the past where I actually got like 5 or more. So I'm surprised I only got 1 here. But if you are interested, I will link the web UI and the regular browser use, which you would want to do programmatically, in the description below. Feel free to check it out. I'm pretty fascinated with this. I'm probably going to do some more testing, and it's one of the things that I'll probably end up trying to run off to the side to do like random tasks for me. Like one of the things I thought about doing was having it try to interact with like Grok and work with Grok to build a game. I don't know if that would ever work at all, but it's like, could you use like AI to navigate to AI to have that AI build a game? And then could I actually use like some online Python editor to go and test the code in it? I don't know. That seems really complex, but it's just some of the random things I was thinking about for fun. But to me, I think the main use case that I really appreciate is testing. And again, I want to thank Network Chuck for putting out this video today because he did a phenomenal job on this video, walking through it, and his editing and just the quality of his videos is just top notch. And I would watch his video if you haven't seen it already because it is really cool, and he does cover something very different than what I do, where he actually is trying to use it to deploy like servers in the cloud, which I thought was also a very, very interesting use case as well. That's it for tonight. Until next time, guys, I appreciate it. See ya.